FlossTube, my name is Laura and I am the Nerdy Needle. Today's video is all about my whips, finishes, FFOs, and a bit of haul and some news from the Pacific Northwest. The spring is most definitely here in Oregon. Everything has been flowering for several weeks now and it's been quite warm and sunny. Today was a nice kind of soggy day, which I'm being a true Oregonian, I actually do like the rain. So it's kind of cooled down and everything is dripping and green and lush and just like how I love Oregon. So it's been quite a lovely spring. I'm finally starting to feel like a bit better. I've been really struggling with incredibly low energy and just complete exhaustion. And it's been a rough year for my family, so I just thought that it was from all of that. But I finally went and saw my doctor and she did a couple of blood tests and it turns out that I have really, really low iron. So I had an iron infusion on Saturday. Basically, it's just an IV they stick in your arm and they infuse an iron solution, and they told me that I should start feeling better in about 2 weeks. So I'm already starting to notice that I feel a bit better. I don't usually share health stuff because it's kind of personal, but this is a problem that many, many women have, and for a lot of us, it's just not diagnosed. So if you're feeling like completely dead on your feet, lethargic, kind of apathetic, kind of a brain fog, if you're feeling like you can't quite catch your breath, then and you're going to your doctor, make sure that they check your iron levels. So when they do a blood test, the test for iron is actually not part of it. The test for it is called ferritin, and it's supposed to be around 50. I'm not sure what the units are. And mine was 5, so I basically have no stored iron in my body, and so that leads to all of this exhaustion. And I'm starting to feel a bit better, so I don't feel quite as just dead on my feet as I did, because it's been pretty rough, and it comes on so gradually that I just chalked it up to other stuff, and but hopefully I'll be feeling a bit better in the next couple of weeks. And I've had iron before and it really does help. So if you're in a situation where they suggest that you do an iron infusion and you're dealing with the symptoms that I've described, I highly recommend it. It's worth the time. It takes about an hour, and it's completely worth it because you do feel a whole lot better. It's amazing what having iron that carries the oxygen in your blood. Yeah, oxygen is your friend. So, and iron's the thing that hauls it around in your blood. So, and being women, we lose blood every month. And so that's why we tend to get iron deficient. So what have I got today? I've got some whips and finishes and haul and all sorts of stuff. So let's start with my red sampler. This is my letter Chaos from Chlorami, and I've actually gotten quite a ways with it. I got that hot air balloon and that initial, the S, and then the clock, and of course this big rabbit. I'm really, really enjoying this with all of these just cute little figures. I'm stitching it with Cosmo 245, which is just a lovely cotton floss to stitch with. And it's kind of like having a little finish every day that you work on something like this, because you know you can get that clock stitched in a few hours. So you know, that's what's really neat about this, is that you get the satisfaction of completing something pretty much every time you pick it up and work on it for a bit. So this is going well, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's about 20% done from kind of the size of the fabric. So next we have my full coverage piece. I just left this on my Millennium frame rods. This is a Vervaco kit. I used all of the flosses that come with the kit. I did switch the fabric out for 18 count easy count Aida. This is turning out just lovely. If you've been watching my videos, my tutorials on how to do full coverage, this is the kit that I've been showing you, and it's turning out just beautifully. I've looked, I cannot find this anywhere. This is completely out of production, so unfortunately this isn't available anymore, but Vervaco makes fantastic kits. So I've completed several of them and I highly recommend them. So I think I purchased that through Stitchery.com. Next, I have a reproduction sampler called a Jane Hattersley. This is a stitch along with Jean Farish, and we had a Zoom meeting a couple of weeks ago, which was really fun. So it's really coming along. This is with the called for Cosmo Floss. And I've been kind of pondering a few things because this is a reproduction sampler, and of course these are stitched by young girls. This little flower with its kind of funky mistakes in it has been bothering me, so I think I'm going to frog some of this and make that flower a little bit more regular. And then this whole middle section right here that I left blank, I'm kind of pondering what I want to do there. What Jane did was she put the initials of her family in there, and I don't know if I want to put her initials, or what I've been thinking about is maybe putting my family member initials. So going through and charting that out and putting initials of maybe the women in my family, or I'm not quite sure, but that's what I'm pondering. So this is coming along quite nicely. This is the full pattern. So you can tell that it's really the letter parts that are the take the longest, so the rest of this with the little figures should go pretty quickly. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm stitching this in hand, which I'm really enjoying, and because the fabric is, it's whatever Jean Farish, who's doing that, who's the designer. I can't remember it offhand. I think it's a 30 count legacy linen. I can't remember the color right offhand, but it's the one that she calls for. So that's my sampler. Another one that I'm doing, this is also a Jean Farish. This is Lady Virginia's Garden. So it looks like that. So this is white work, which I've never done before, but I think, considering that I've never done this before, it's turning out quite well. I'm actually quite pleased. So each one of these edge bits has a different white work to it. I'm working on satin stitch right here. Jean Farish has these wonderful video tutorials that show you how to do this, and the charting for this project is fantastic. So like I said, I've never done white work before, and I mean, it's not perfect, it's my first time through, but considering I've never done it, it's actually turning out surprisingly well, and it's really fun. I mean, so white work is it's called pulled thread. So as you're stitching, you stitch on a, you can it's a pretty loose weave. This is, I think, 30 count also. It's a legacy linen, I think it's sea salt. So it's kind of a loose weave, and you use a linen thread, which has a bit more grip to it than embroidery floss. You could also use pearl cotton. And as you're stitching, you just pull on it. That's pulled thread, right? So you just pull on it, and that causes these different lacy effects. It's really satisfying. It doesn't take very long to do a section, so you can easily complete one of these little corners in an evening. And it's really surprisingly easy. It really is not all that complicated. So those are all of my whips for right now, yeah. I have something I need to finish still. I bought some stuff from Sajou, which is a French embroidery, and it's like a haberdashery. So this is going to be a scissor case that I still need to finish. It comes with, this was a kit, and it comes with this really, really cute spool of thread. It's not embroidery floss. It's like a pearl cotton. It's quite thin. It's nice to work with, though it's more grippy than embroidery floss, so you kind of have to, because the pattern called for 1 strand and I decided to stitch with 2. And the one issue with that is because the thread is a bit rougher, it kind of catches on itself, so you have to make sure that both strands of the floss are seated for your stitches, but it's really not that problematic. And then the other thing is that when you pull out of this, it's super, super curly. So I was using my damp sponge to straighten this, and that made all the difference. So that's my finish. I have some fully finished objects. I've been experimenting with silk. So this is a modern folk embroidery little pincushion. And this is, I think he called it Darling Buds. And I stitched this with Dinky Dyes, Silk, Ocean Pines, and Napa Valley. I really, really enjoyed stitching with silk. I love how it feels. I'm not all that thrilled with my finish on this, and I did get a little bit of bleed that I didn't notice when I was finishing it, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. I might just leave it as a it could be better project to remind me of what needs to get fixed the next time I do one of these. But I really did super enjoy stitching with the floss. That Dinky Dyes is just a beautiful floss. So that's a finish. Also from Sejou, I got a kit that's a little ort pot, which I really like. It came with this lovely little ribbon. And this is that same floss. It's as the other one, so it's this stuff. And yeah, I've been needing a little ort container for my threads and other stuff. Right now it's got a bunch of DMC little paper things in it. And I've turned out well. I am not a sewer. I have a sewing machine, but my skills are lacking severely. I can sew a straight seam, but I do it so rarely that I just haven't really developed all of the skills you need to really be good with sewing. It's something to do. So other stuff that I got from Sejou, I got these little tins that come with this band that you paste around it that is just a Parisian scene. And then I bought these to make them as gifts. They come with a cardboard circle and some batting, and so basically you embroider like a flower or an initial or something, and then put it on the lid, and then you have a little gift container for somebody with a bit of embroidery on it. So I got 4 of those. That was also from Sejou. My other fully finished object, I made this little needle minder, which actually turned out quite nicely. This is from Michael Powell. I have this book, which is available on Amazon. And it's got just super cute patterns. Really kind of nice little smalls with, you know, these kind of goofy looking houses. There's another one there. So this obviously is a small little thing. I got finished pretty quickly. And then what I did, because I want to use it as a needle minder, what I did was I put, what is that stuff that you put on your seams? Fray check. I put fray check on the whole thing, so it kind of protects the stitching, so nothing catches on it. So This turns out to be a nice little needle minder. And my first video, people were laughing at my designation for whether you're a monogamous, polygamous, or promiscuous stitcher, depending on how many projects you have going. In that same pattern, this would be a one-night stand without the regrets in the morning. So gotta go with the pattern, right? So those are my finishes. Do I have any more? Nope. I think I got all of those. Of course, I could also look at my notes. Oh, also from Sejou, I splurged and got a pair of really nice Sejou embroidery scissors, which really are nice, though it's quite expensive, but I don't usually treat myself to something that's quite that spendy, but it was actually worth it. I really like them. Other stuff that I have, oh, I bought some counting pins off of Etsy. It's called Pin Cushion Crazy, and I really like these. These are so cute. They're really nice and long. And since I'm really starting to get into stitching with linen, having some pretty counting pins, it's nice to have. I mean, you can just use a regular needle, but using something pretty is nicer. Other haul that I got, one of my favorite new tools that I got were some magnifying glasses. These I got from Amazon. They were about 20 bucks. They are, and of course, all of this stuff, I will put links in the description box. This thing is, my notes auto-corrected to Panasonic. It's not Panasonic, it's something like that. Anyways, they're magnifying glasses. I'll put the description, the link below. They are awesome. They come with a box of lenses that go from 0.5 to 3.5x. I use them with the headband. You can also switch this out to like earpieces, but because like stitchers, you kind of have your head forward all the time, it gets to be a little bit too much weight on your nose. So the little headband works better for me. They're very, very adjustable. So this piece swings back and forth, then this piece swings back and forth, and it even has a 2-setting, I need to recharge it. It charges off of a USB cable, a 2-setting light, which I tried it out. I was stitching in bed, and I just had my one bedroom light on, and this gives enough light and magnification that I was able to comfortably stitch. I was actually stitched this. I'm not sure what the count is on this. I'm guessing it's around 28 or 30. So most of this I was able to just curl up in bed and stitch it with my new magnifier. So I really, really like those. So if you're struggling a little bit with seeing stuff, I highly recommend you give that a shot, and it's 20 bucks. So that is one thing that I'm noticing is as I'm starting to do more stitching on linen, which is very different. I'm a full coverage gal. That's my comfort stitching, but I'm really enjoying getting into linen, and it is a different skills that you need, slightly different, not hugely, but there is some difference in the skills you need. And one thing I'm seeing is that using magnification so you can really, really see those threads, it makes a big difference. I just find it much, much easier to see the threads and not miscount. And the other thing that I really like about the way I've been stitching on linen is I'm stitching in hand. That makes it different enough from full coverage that my brain kind of registers that the things I need to pay attention to are slightly different than in full coverage. And so it kind of puts it in a separate category, because my full coverage I stitch on a floor stand. So with stitching in hand, it's different enough and it gives me a very different experience. And one of the things I really like is just feeling the fabric in my hand. I mean, these linens feel so wonderful. So it becomes very tactile and enjoyable to touch the whole thing. There's not a whole lot of enjoyment in touching Ada. So what else have I got here? I got my whips, and oh, my last thing I wanted to show. Oh, more haul. I bought some Annie's keepers. So I'm slowly transitioning away from using bobbins. I'm not a bobbinator fan. And I've got a big Scarlet Quince project that I'm slowly kitting up. I think it's like 130 colors or something. So I decided I needed really, really good floss organization before I dive into that. So I splurged and got some Annie's keepers. And oops. So this is how they work. You get these little tiles, and you can label your floss on the little tile. And I cut my floss to the length I like, and then I put them on and just loop them through just like I would on a thread drop. You can see this was taken off of a bobbin because it's all kinked. And this is kind of not that great because it would be easy for the floss to tangle as I'm pulling a strand out. So what I did was I actually took my steam iron and just ironed all of my floss straight. And it didn't take very long, and now I have straight floss. So the way these things work is they have these little sliders. These things hang, it's got the hooks on the two ends, so they hang in like a filing cabinet, you know, where it's got the two bars and then you hang your file folders on it. It's that same setup, so like a banker's box type of thing. And so you get 15 on one, so they look like that. And they actually, you can pop them out from like the middle. So it's not like if I need this color here, I don't have to slide all of those out. I can just kind of twist it and it pops straight out. And then it kind of seems like it's a little flimsy, but it's not. They're real nice and solid. So it's a nice organization system. It's got the advantages of bobbins where you can sort them however you like, but you don't have to bobbinate. You don't get the kinked floss. So it seems like a lot of the issues that we have with bobbins go away with using this. The whole set, I got a bunch of the little, these things, the little tile pieces, and I spent 165 bucks. I got them from the stitchingshop.com. There were two websites that I saw that sell them, and this one was like 50 bucks less expensive than the other one. So Stitching Shop, and it was a pretty quick shipment. I got it probably within 2 weeks of ordering it. All of these online stitching shops are really, really busy with all of the online orders, so that was actually a pretty quick turnaround. So I'm still kind of sorting through how I'm going to use them, but I'm so far so good. I'm slowly transitioning all of my bobbins over. So what I've been doing is just, I have on my coffee table in front of my TV, I measured out the length of floss that I like, and then I just unravel off of my bobbins and then just measure off on that length, cut my loops, loop it through the little tile doodah, put the number on, and I'm done. And the thing I like about this is that this is just like a thread drop, so it's all set up to just pull an individual thread, and I don't have to unwind off of a bobbin, pull a strand, rewind it all on, which is, I've never liked doing that. So I'm pretty excited about my Annie's keepers. And then the last thing was kind of a homemade thing that I did. I stitch in kind of a lazy boy. This is my stitching chair. Over here I have another magnifier that I use sometimes, though honestly I kind of wish that I had gone and just gotten this, because this is a Dazor. It's a super nice magnifier and I still use it a lot, but it seems like a little bit overkill now that I've got the glasses, but oh well. So I like to stitch here, and it's a recliner, so I like to put my feet up, and so I wanted to have a system where I had everything that I needed within arm's reach, so that I could be super lazy and just recline back and stitch away and not have to get up and go get something else that I needed for the project. So I made a little stitching organizer. Now remember, I said I am not a sewer, so I picked a fabric that matches the chair and is very forgiving, so you can't see all of my horrendous stitching. My sewing leaves a lot to be desired. What I've decided is that this is a prototype, and so now I can just be like, well, it doesn't have to be all that great because it's a prototype. So what I did was I just sewed a little pocket in it, but I left the end open, so it's just looped back on itself, and there's some interfacing, some like heavy duty interfacing in here. And then what I did is I'm just gonna leave it open, maybe put some buttons or Velcro or something to seal it. And I just glued magnets on the inside, and then I glued magnets to these little hook things. So when I set this up, I have my little sponge, and there's a magnet right there. Let me, how am I gonna show you? So, there we go. So there's a magnet that catches this. There's a magnet back here for my scissors. So my scissors are right there, and I got the strong rare earth magnet, so this is really solidly on there. And then with the two hooks, I can hook my thread drops on, and those are also just attached with magnets. Or if I can just take my little floss cards and just kind of hook them on those two hooks. And so everything is within arm's reach. I actually really like it, even though it's far from pretty. I think what I'm going to experiment with is I have some sheet metal from a roofing project from a while ago in the garage. And I think what I'm going to experiment with is to cut a thin strip of sheet metal and put it in there and see if that can kind of expand out how many things I can kind of attach onto it without things falling off. But so far so good. I really, really like it. I can put a little pocket in it, even though it's far from perfect, but it's a good prototype. So that was my invention. I'm good at picturing how to, things that I want to make, and then I just kind of cobble it together, even though my sewing skills aren't that great, but it works. And the second one will be prettier. So I think those are all of my whips and finishes and FFOs. I've actually really enjoyed doing these floss tubes. It's really helped me just deal with stuff that my family's been going through and my weird health problem that turned out to be a pretty easy fix. So I'm actually really amazed at how many people watch my videos and all of the wonderful supportive comments I've gotten. So it's been really amazing. And I never expected this much of a audience of people who want to listen to me go on about my projects and also my tutorials on my stitching. I've gotten pretty good at doing those tutorials. I can get them done pretty quickly. So if there's something that you see and you're like, I'd really like to get a better look at that, I can actually put one together in, like somebody asked about laying tools, and I did that laying tool video, like just the filming of it was like maybe half an hour, and then, you know, a bit of editing, but I've got it down, it's pretty streamlined, so I can do them pretty quickly. So that's a long way of me saying, if you would like me to show you something that I do, that I've shown in my tutorials, then please let me know, and I'd be happy to, within reason, of course, make a video that explains the way that I stitch. From what I've been reading, people have been finding those helpful, which is very, it makes me feel good, because being a teacher, it's all about sharing my knowledge and how I do things with the world out in FlossTube. So that's me for my catch-up for what I've been working on. I think what I plan on working on in the coming weeks, I didn't show my whip of my Snowflower Diaries, because that's been kind of, it kind of got shoved to the back. So I need to pull that out so that my levitating head actually earns a body. I definitely want to get back to the white work. I think that's the one I'm going to pick up next. I don't really have an official rotation, like every project gets a week or whatever. It's kind of like, what do I feel like grabbing today? Or, I haven't worked on that one for a bit, so I'll just pull that one out. Maybe at some point I'll become more systematic and have an official rotation. But right now I just kind of enjoy picking up whatever I feel like stitching. One thing that I'm looking forward to is I bought some Soie d'Alger, the beautiful French embroidery floss. And I bought some patterns from Modern Folk Embroidery, some smalls. So I plan on diving into using Soie d'Alger, which I've heard fantastic things about. Nicola Parkman talks about how much she loves stitching with Soie d'Alger, so I'm looking forward to trying it. So that's me for tonight. My whips, my finishes, my FFOs, and stuff about my life. I hope you enjoyed listening to my stuff, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for listening.